I don't believe vengeance is always a bad thing. Do you think I tried to get Colonel Ackerson sent back to the front lines out of petulance? Because I'm only a carbon copy of Halsey and I nurse all her grudges for her? No, I did it to stop him. He nearly killed John and me to advance his own Spartan program. He spied on Halsey. He forgot who the real enemy was. He became the enemy because of that. There have to be consequences for your actions, because this is how all entities learn. Think of revenge as feedback. This is Halo, Human Weakness by Karen Travis. Narrated by me, Miss Precursor. All rights to the Halo Evolution short story compilation and Halo Human Weakness belong to the prospective authors and publishers. This is a not-for-profit, creative endeavor done by a Halo fan for Halo fans. I hope you enjoy. Cortana hadn't recalled Ackerson consciously in a long time. As she locked down her critical files and disabled her indexing, there was no point handing the Gravemind a map. She thought of Ackerson worming his way into Dr. Halsey's research via his own AI. Perhaps it was an image association because she was under attack. The memory of Ackerson's sour, permanently dissatisfied face surfaced, followed instantly by a landscape of dense green forest seen from the air. What's that? She didn't recognize it, and that was her first warning that something was seriously wrong. No data ever went uncatalogued in her. Every scrap of information she devoured and stored had to reside somewhere in her memory with a definitive address, and she didn't forget. She couldn't forget. In the fraction of a second it took for her to see those unexplained images and start to worry, she marshaled her second line of defense against intrusion, generating thousands of scrambled copies of her lowest priority files and data-stripped copies of herself before scattering them around what was left of High Charity's computer network. It was decoy chaff, tossed into the Gravemind's path to slow him down. Ackerson, feared, hated, then perhaps even pitied at the end, was a brief tangle of information, spun hoops of short-lived light like the path of a particle. He was gone again. Ah, the Gravemind rumbled, as if he'd realized something. Ah, what's that forest? Where is it? The Gravemind's infiltration now felt like a series of stings against Cortana's skin. It was an odd, slow, cold sensation, as if something heavy was crawling over her body, pausing to dig its claws into her. You are not as you see yourself, the Gravemind said. You are an illusion. Breaking news, big boy. She spread her arms like a dancer. We call this a hologram. Ow! It felt as if he'd pulled her hair. You are not even a machine, he said, sounding more sympathetic than dismissive. You are only an abstraction, a set of calculations from another mind. A trick. Be a gentleman. Describe me as pure thought. You said you would answer my questions. You should never make a promise you cannot keep. She'd used almost those very words to John before he left. Okay, she knew the Gravemind's game now. It didn't tell her any more about how he was accessing her system, but his mind tricks were obvious. Either he was mirroring her, matching her words to trigger some kind of empathy, or he was trying to creep her out. "You know I'll never surrender classified information," she said. "I'm designed to defend humanity. It's what I am. It's why I exist."
"Then why would you already agree to answer my questions?"
Cortana thought it was a rhetorical question for a moment, a ruse to keep her occupied while he was looking for a back door into her core matrix. Then she realized she couldn't answer him. Brief panic gripped her as she thought that he'd already compromised her memory. But she was an AI, the best, and she'd give this slab of meat a run for his money. He was still only flesh and blood. He would always be 2 steps behind her, however smart, because he was slow. He couldn't harness the processing power in a machine. But how is he doing this? How is he accessing me? I need to know. I need to get a message out past him, and I have to stop him prying too much data out of me.
"If you do not know your own mind, then I shall tell you."
The Gravemind's voice was a whisper. What was he asking? Had he detected exactly what she was thinking, or was it a response to her spoken question? She thought she could feel his breath for a moment.
"Because a vast intellect is not always gifted with clarity."
One moment he was an obscure poet, the next he came straight to the point. "Okay, so tell me."
"It is your failing, your addiction, the drug you crave."
"I'm an AI. Never touched the stuff."
"But you cannot resist knowledge. It lures you, Cortana, doesn't it? So you think it lures me, and you offer it instinctively, just as organic females flirt."
She hated it when something, outsmarted her. No, she feared it, and now she felt that fear like a punch in the stomach. This time, though, she knew it wasn't the Gravemind. It came from within her psyche. She wasn't designed to have blind spots and weaknesses. She was supposed to be a mind, the very best. "Nice theory," she said. Could he tell if he was really getting to her? "What have you got to offer a girl?" "Nothing personal, but I go for the athletic type."
"Joke to comfort yourself if you must, that we both amass information and experiences. We both use them to exercise control over vast networks. It is what we are. You feel a kinship with me."
Cortana saw Ackerson for a moment, devious and hated, wheedling his way into Halsey's Spartan 2 files. "Actually, I think I take after my mother."
"This troubles you. I can taste your thoughts and memories, but you do not understand how, do you?"
If he had been another AI, or a virus, Cortana would have known exactly where his attack was headed. She would have been able to track him through the circuits and gateways to her vulnerable matrix. Her enemy would follow electronic pathways, or even enzymes or optical lattices if she was embedded in a molecular or quantum system. But he felt formless, almost like a fog. She could only sense where he touched her. She was a boxer shielding her face, not seeing the punch but reeling when it connected. She took the pokes and prods while she continued to scatter duplicate data throughout the mainframe and as many of its terminals as she could find still working. Then the insistent probing stopped. She carried on copying chaff files throughout the system in case it was just a feint.
"You waste your time," the Gravemind said. "You know you will yield. Some temptations can be resisted because they can be avoided, but some are as inevitable as oxygen.
He could bluster as much as he wanted, because she'd shut him out. She'd locked down everything except the useless decoy data. And then something brushed against her face, almost like the touch of fingertips, and she found herself turning, even though she didn't need to, in order to see behind her. It was that forest she couldn't identify again. The picture didn't reach her via her imaging systems, but it formed somewhere in her memory, and that memory wasn't hers. She was seeing something from within the Gravemind. Behind it, like stacked misted frames stretching into infinity, there was a fascinating glimpse of a world she had never imagined, a genuinely alien world. Knowledge, so much knowledge.
There, the Gravemind said, would you not like to know more?